good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. We know there's a really wide range of different places tuning in today, for which we are hugely grateful. My name is Sheila Watson. I'm Deputy Director of the FIA Foundation, a UK-based philanthropy with focus on safe, clean, fair and green mobility, and a very proud founding partner of the Partnership for Active Travel and Health, or PATH, which is the organisation organising today's event. Today's seminar and symposium is the fourth in the series that we've had so far. It's a really wonderful gathering for all of us, because apart from the fact that we get to see each other and to acknowledge each other's work, we also get to hear from great practitioners in the field, from people who are working hard on walking and cycling policy around the world, who can tell us a lot about the challenges they're facing, about the ways in which they are working with each other and working with those in their organizations, and governments and cities to promote the policy around these really important and often neglected modes. So we'll have a panel after our keynote speaker. And after that, we will have contributions from many of our partners and supporters within the PATH partnership. We'll also hear a bit about what PATH has been up to. We are increasing our workload and our ambitions all of the time. We have plans for the next COP in Brazil, but we've also been working hard since we last came together, promoting a draft NDC within the UNFCCC process with a proper coverage of walking and cycling, and we're monitoring how that's going. So you will hear a lot about that later today, and we will give you a short break partway through to wander off, contemplate what you've heard, have a quick glass of water and come back. But my first task is a really a very pleasurable one, and I have a great honour of introducing our keynote speaker to you here today. She is Laura Salazar, the active mobility leader within the Environmental Affairs and Sustainable Development Group of the Colombian Ministry of Transport. And I know from our partners in PATH, from Walk 21, from the European Cycling Federation, and from the United Nations Environment Programme, the great work that's taking place in Colombia, which Laura and her team are leading. So I hand over now to Laura to tell us more about that work, and then we'll move on from there to our panel. But over to you, Laura, and welcome to the PATH Symposium.
Hello, good morning. Thank you very much for this place. I am very excited to show you what are our goals about the sustainable mobility and the active mobility in Colombia. So can you please show my slides? Yes. So I'm going to tell you more about the national strategy for active mobility with a gender and differential approach in Colombia. This is a strategy that is a set of instruments, guidelines, programs, and projects that lead the territorial governments to fulfill the strategies that we have in general actions, specific actions, and we have different approaches about this strategy. We have an approach of gender where we want to see all women in all the diversity, have safe roads in the sorry, I'm a little bit nervous. Whew. Okay, we have different approaches where we want to see all the ways of active mobility be safe, with road safety, sustainable, healthy, differential, and with a gender approach. This strategy leads us to fulfill a few commitments that we have since from the national government, like the Compass. We have a goal to set more incentives for active mobility. We have also the National Road Safety Plan, where we want to decrease in a 50% all the accidents in the road. And we are also leading to fulfill the Paris Agreement, where we have climate change mitigation actions, and we have a measure that we are promoting, where that is going to lead to an increase of 5.5% of trips in active modes in the country. So this is a set of instruments that lead the territorial governments to have actions that can improve their active mobility in the territory. We want to guide them to have more projects, more programs, and more information about how they can improve the active mobility in their localities. Can you move to the next slide? So we have a set of challenges that we have to improve on a daily basis, because we saw that there is a disarticulation for the development of active mobility actions with a gender and differential focus. We could see that the local governments in Colombia don't have a set of goals to improve the gender mobility and the differential mobility. We need to have more infrastructure to make it safe for the people who has differential needs in their way to move. And also about the care mobility. We have to improve that in the territory. We also have a challenge where the vision from multiple actors and different levels are unaware or ignore the active mobility, and also ignore the gender and the differential approach of the mobility. There is also weakness in the planning instruments and equipment for the cities, and there is a lack of management, financing, and investment policies in active mobility. We also saw that there is an insufficient and incoherent regulatory and regulation in the localities, and also there is a lack of impact analysis and quantity or qualitative information about that. So in these challenges, we made a guideline where we can improve every single one of the challenges. So can you move please to the next slide? And there is a point of view that is very important, and are the challenges from a gender and the differential perspective. These are additional for the challenges that I already told you about, and we have to look forward to improve the care mobility, where we have a city planning that recognize the care travels. We also need to have more accessible and diverse infrastructure. We need to recognize the needs, the rhythms, the bodies, the needs that have the people with the reduced mobility and the universal accessibility to have better cities at approachable for everyone. We also need to have cities that are safe and free. We also have the need to have a reduction of violence against women and sexual harassment in the active mobility in the cities. Also, we need to have more safe and a safe rhythm of the night and day, where we can show to the people more intermodality, a more active connection with the different modes of transportation. And we also need to have a better cities that bring this availability of the transportation and the safety in the active mobility 24/7. And we also need to have more participation of women in the masculinized jobs, promoting women's work in the active mobility and the value chain. That means that we have to make a few changes. We are also making a few changes about the active mobility in our country, and also in the regulations and the governance of this active mobility in the country. Can you move please to the next slide? So Regarding those challenges, we have 7 lines of actions. We have governance, where we bring to the cities more information about the law and what they can do about active mobility. We also have a line that tries to have more promotion and cultural transformation in the cities, where they have programs like using the bicycle to go to school, using the bicycle to go to work, using the bicycle to go to the university, and also more programs where women can learn to use the bike, because we know that women are mostly the people that don't use the bike because of the gender points of view that are very masculinized. So that's one of the points of making this transformation and this cultural transformation. We have the third line of action, where we need to bring more technical guidelines for make more safe infrastructure that is integrated with the care of the most vulnerable actors that are pedestrians, and we need to bring more information to the cities about the mobility management. Our fourth line of action is territorial planning instruments, which we bring some guidelines and documents that bring information to the cities about how to make this planning. We also make more capacitations and capacity development in the cities to have more information about how to have a better infrastructure, how to have a better governance, and how to have a better promotional and cultural transformation. Also, we have a line of action that is about the information. We need to measure what is going on in the cities, what is going on about pedestrians, how is the cycle paths in the cities, how is the cycle infrastructure, and also how are the, ¿cómo es que se dice andenes? The pedestrian ways. And also, we need to bring more information about the regulations. We can bring guidelines for cities to make more regulations about how to improve a better promotion of the active mobility in the city, and also how to have more access to financing and how to get more money to invest in this active mobility in all the areas that are needed for this. So this is my presentation. I was very nervous, sorry. Okay, so we are going to talk about some of the actions that we have from the national government about it. When we're talking about the line of governance, we have a few tools that we are bringing to the cities to provide more spaces, conditions, and incentives for active mobility. One of them is an interinstitutional coordination table for active mobility, where too many ministries of this country are working together to have more action about it. We are talking about the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Sports, the Ministry of Household. We are talking also about the National Planning Department. And we also are aligning capabilities to bring more road safety with a gender and differential instances. That means that we have a program of active mobility, technical training, where we bring information to the territories, also to the technical groups in the country, to have more information how to improve the active mobility there. And we also have an active and safe mobility roundtable with the city. We have the table of participation of citizens, where we can have a control about what are the needs of the city and also of the citizens about the active mobility, and also with an approach of safe mobility. About promotion, we have the National Program of Promotion of the Bicycle Use that also is a tool that brings the understanding and appropriation of the active mobility plans. This is also a strategy that brings information and programs that can help the cities to improve the use of the bicycle on a daily basis. We also have in the line of infrastructure and active mobility management a set of infrastructure and planning execution where we can bring some guides to the city about new road sign of manual, traffic calming sites, tactical urbanism guides, and also high impact cycle infrastructure. We also have an intermodality workshop that we started last year, and we are going to do it again this year with the local governments. And we also have the National Safety Plan. Can you move forward, please? Okay. About the territorial planning, we have a review update of the resolution of sustainable and safe mobility plans. And we also have a few workshops of development plans with a vision of active mobility. And we also are working in groups of territorial entities. About regulations, we have a few regulations made for more safe public policies like the bicycle reinstatement resolution, the participatorial regional workshop on regulations towards active mobility, and also we have about monitoring and information, an active mobility diagnosis. We also have a dashboard of open data about the information that we have in every city of Colombia or more in 38 cities about how they are doing in active mobility with infrastructure, policy, financing, safe road safety, and how is the infrastructure in the city. And about financing, we are already working with a few cooperation agreements with GIS, with the Netherlands, and we also are bringing information to the cities about how they can access to the general royalty system, about how they can finance their programs and the projects in the city. Thank you very much, guys. I was very nervous, sorry.
Hi, Laura. Sorry, now I'm having my own technical difficulties. I wish you wouldn't be nervous because, as I've said to you before, we're all friends and we're all really, really keen and excited to hear what you've been doing, which is extraordinarily impressive, particularly I think the way that you have drilled down from those very general challenges, which we all recognize, in a very detailed, all of those materials are very new, very thorough way to generate specifics that people can get hold of. And I noted as well that you're learning from your own cities and seeing what they're doing and sharing good practice. That's so much about what PATH is about. Now, I know people want to ask you questions, but I'm afraid, and I didn't say this at the beginning, I'm afraid we don't have time and the facility for that in today's meeting. So I have to just say a big thank you to you. And I know that if people want to reach out, they'll be able to contact you and pass on some of their thoughts. I think, for example, your citizen engagement process was one that sparked a lot of interest. So hopefully you'll be able to help with some of those questions. We'll pass them on to you at the end. Yes. And thanks again. And thank you for that wonderful presentation. And now, in much the same spirit, actually, of sharing great work and learning from each other, I want to hand over to our panel session, which will be moderated by Jim Walker, who's director of the Walk 21 Foundation, founder of Walk 21, and one of our partners in PATH. So, Jim, I'm going to hand over to you now.
Great, thanks, Sheila. And yeah, thank you, Laura. That was a really great presentation and just illustrative of just how much is going on at the moment. And we wanted to have a panel now to share with you some of the momentum that is happening in lots of different parts of the world. And so this panel is going to be a discussion more than a presentation, where we're going to invite 4 people to share with us what they're up to at the moment and the sorts of things that they think might be helpful to share with you. A bit of inspiration, I hope, to other parts of the world where maybe we haven't got as much activity. But honestly, in almost every corner of the world, we've found people doing more and more things for walking and cycling over the last year or so, and we were particularly keen to showcase this panel today to share with you their experiences. So on the panel, we have 4 people. The first is Chiara, and Chiara is joining us from Africa, from the World Health Organization, where she's particularly active in the active mobility world. Chiara is going to share with us her experiences there, followed by Suzanne Le Carrot, and my French is awful. She knows how bad my French is, but she's very kindly willing to speak in English with us today and share with us the work that she's doing from the Director of General Infrastructure, Transport and Mobility in France. We also have Wiebke Ubenhau with us from the Federal Ministry of Innovation, Mobility and Infrastructure in Austria, to share with us the work that's happening at a regional level, actually, in the pan-European region, and also Tumi Tran from ICLE, Head of Sustainable Mobility, who's going to share with us some work that is particularly happening also in the Asia region. So yeah, a great panel, lots of experience, lots of interesting things to share with us. But Chiara, can I start with you first, please? And maybe could you tell us the initiative that you're currently leading and how you're working to help improve conditions for people walking and cycling, and in your instance, I think in the Africa context. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim, and thank you for having me today. I hope you can hear me okay.
Yes, we're fine.
So just a little introduction. Active mobility for the World Health Organization is today a very important area of work, because we do know about the almost direct link between diseases and lack of well-being, including mental health, when there is too little physical activity. So the promotion of physical activity is really important to prevent all the surge of non-communicable diseases like diabetes, cardiovascular diseases, but also, as I said, depression and mental health. So to do this, of course, we promote normative work and policies to promote active mobility, and also to make the environment safer, in particular road safer through road safety initiatives. But what I will be sharing with you today is a very specific and multi-partner initiative that is called PAPAM, the Pan-African Action Plan for Active Mobility, an initiative whose guardians are 3 UN organizations, so the WHO, UNEP, and UN Habitat in the African region. This action plan aims really to boost joint action among different stakeholders to make walking and cycling safer and accessible to all, and also pleasant experience in this region. Where it is so much needed because of many reasons. So we know about the urbanization in many mega cities in Africa, but also we know about the rise even of changing in lifestyle in the region. So this is a really core initiative. So what this framework aims to do is to, first of all, as I said, make walking and cycling more accessible and more and safer for all. So as a change that is we inspire to, together with all the stakeholders, is that first of all, there will be less people who are injured or casualties due to unsafe roads in the cities, but also out of the cities in rural areas. We also want to see more people moving for more time. So to really actively move within the city or within their living environment, to go to work, to just move from one place to the other in an active way. We want to see safer roads and streets and areas for pedestrians. and of course make the experience more pleasant for the well-being of people. So moving towards greener and more pleasant experiences when walking and cycling. So not only safe, but also pleasant and accessible to all. There is an equity part that is very important. We know there are more vulnerable groups. We have heard about gender earlier. It's a big component of inequities, and for also other vulnerable groups. And the last change that we aim to see is a much bigger investment and political commitment by decision makers, by governments, to really invest in infrastructure and in environments that are enabling people to walk and cycle more.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that. You know, to have 3 UN agencies collaborate, I know these things aren't easy, but to actually come up with a plan that actually has an impact potentially on 54 countries is really quite amazing. And but you aren't challenged by that. You're really working out about how to target maybe a few countries first to see how you might be able to apply a sort of regional approach at a national level, isn't it? I think you've got a few countries in mind.
Yes, of course. So there is a number of countries. There are 5 countries that will start basically implement certain key activities related to the PAPAM. But there is a colleague that will tell more details about that after this panel.
Okay.
So this will happen in these 5 countries, and I keep the suspense for you to learn more. But maybe what is interesting to share with all of you now is that, of course, we mentioned the role of UN entities, but we are simply guardians of this action. This is a highly participatory initiative that is targeting, of course, the decision makers and the governments, but that really require and welcome the input and the active participation of civil society organizations, of academia, and the communities who are involved, of the people themselves who are the protagonists of this initiative in the end.
Yeah. I
So
really like that, how you've really brought everyone together, you know, sort of no one's excluded, are they? You're really connecting the advocates, the academics, you know, the government people, and really making sure that there is a common agenda, finding that common path and actually creating a direction, a way forwards that can actually make things better on the ground.
yeah, so this is there has been a series of consultative meetings, very broad meetings through quite a long period of time before coming up with the framework, with 3 action areas, priority areas that have been identified, and also very clear targets. So hopefully, having this set of specific targets that can measure the changes that we want to see will allow, accountability of
Yes.
countries that will be in this, and also tracking the changes and seeing the changes over time.
Yeah. I love the fact that you're already thinking about monitoring and tracking. It's so important, and yet it's something we don't see always in policies, that people are always thinking about how are we going to know what is success? How do we know if we get there? But thank you for sharing us that quick snapshot introduction to PAPAM, the Pan-African Action Plan for Active Mobility, and how that's working to support 54 countries in Africa. Thank you. Wiebke, I'm going to just move on to you because you've got a similar type approach, but you're coming from a national ministry. Maybe you could just share with us what you're doing and your role in bringing together countries on a common agenda, and maybe in a slightly similar way, maybe.
Yeah, thank you very much, Jim, and thank you very much for your kind introduction. Before I give you some insights in what's happening in Austria, of course, I'm really happy that I have the chance here to talk about the 50+ countries that are collaborating in the UNECE, WHO, the PEP program, the Health, Transport, Health, Environment Pan-European program, which is more or less a unique intergovernmental and cross-sectoral policy platform for policymakers and stakeholders of all the countries that are somehow feeling connected to the pan-European region. So the idea here is to accelerate the transformation toward clean, safe, and healthy mobility, and finally, of course, to reach a net zero emission transport system. So it's more or less the only place where ministries of transport, health, and environment can come together and discuss and develop internationally sustainable transport policies. So, and this, what is interesting here is that the partnership is driven and guided by a steering committee of member states. So there are representatives of all three sectors, the transport sectors, the health sectors, and the environmental sector. They are serviced by UNECE and WHO Regional Office for Europe. So what is interesting with the steering committee is also that the chairmanship of this steering committee is changing every year. So each sector has the chairhood for 1 year. And at the moment, we have a chairman who's from Moldova, and he's representing the health sector. And next year, I have the honor to be the chair of the Pan-European program, Transport, Health and Environment, representing the transport sector. So the main activity here is to bring people together. I think it's a bit comparable to what PAM is doing in the southern part of the world. So actually, we had some meetings already together to do some exchange and to learn from each other in different working groups. So here is the idea to achieve transport patterns that are sustainable for human health and the environment and for the entire pan-European region. And much of the work is done in so-called the PEP partnerships. These are, you know, working groups of different size, different compositions. So mostly we have representatives of the member states from the national level in those partnerships, but we also have nice NGOs that are supporting us with really high quality expertises like Work 21 and ECF, so that we also have, or we are getting a better idea what is really needed in the field. So our main working document or our main guiding document is the Vienna Declaration that was launched in 2021, and which gives us, you know, it's a kind of a work plan what we are going to do within the next 10 years. And I think for me, especially during the time that I am the chairman or the chair of the steering committee, for me, the most important partnership is a partnership on healthy active mobility, knowing that there are different others. So like on eco-driving, on child and youth friendly mobility, on sustainable tourism mobility, but especially this partnership on healthy active mobility is a really highly engaged one. So we are doing a really good job by publishing the first Pan-European Master Plan on cycling. And last year during the Work 21 conference in Portugal, we launched the first Pan-European Master Plan on walking. And I think these are the both strong documents that lead our work for the next years. So first of all, we're going to merge both documents to get a better idea of what we can do in the entire field of active mobility. But it's also, as we also want to scale up our initiative a bit more. So that's why we are working on kind of dissemination instrument that helps us to spread our word, our master plans into the world, to find some followers that are getting up and coming, doing also strategical plannings in the field of active mobility, especially in the field of walking. And we really hope that those documents and our dissemination instruments help us to boost walking and cycling in the entire pan-European region.
Okay.
And last but not least, I'd really like to stress that we try to identify some monitoring and also
Great.
some approaches to gather data in the field of walking and cycling, which is also always a bit of a crucial aspect here.
Yeah, thank you again for mentoring monitoring. It's something that a path we're turning our mind to as well. I know we helped set a framework, a policy framework that mentions about monitoring, but countries are asking us all the time, so are cities, you know, how do we do it? How do we do it in a consistent way? And this is something that we're really keen to sort of address before the end of the year or early next year for sure, and try and help with a formula, an affordable formula, but we'll come to that as we look forwards. But thank you for sharing that. That means that we've got 54 countries in Africa, another 56 in the pan-European region. That's more than half the world with some sort of regional policy. And I really appreciate your leadership here with bringing people together, finding that common agenda, coming up with common frameworks for monitoring. It's really encouraging. There's so much going on at the moment. It's great that you can share it. Suzanne, if I might come to you, you're one of those countries, representing France, of course, who are part of that regional approach, but you also are keen to make sure that you're doing the right thing at a national level. Maybe you could share with us your work, which I think started with cycling, now includes walking. What sorts of things are you doing? What is France doing that makes sure that you're part of this agenda and doing the right thing for walking and cycling?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for sharing everything. Yes, half of the word is on a good way. It's really impressive. I will speak about a very small part of the policies described by Wibke. At the Walking and Cycling Mission of the French Ministry of Transport, we are working at the moment on a better articulation between walking and public transport. You must already know by heart the Walk 21 policy brief on the subject. It was published in April 2024. And this publication has given rise to ideas in different minds in France. We had two associations representing pedestrians and public transport users. They start to work on it, and they missioned a state technical service called CEREMA to help them building a policy regarding the links between walking and public transport and providing literature review, inspiring cases and recommendations. And from our side, we started on the publication of Walk 21, we contacted them to exchange on the possibility to adapt it in French with local cases. So we had the help of an intern, and we made contact with the UTPF. It's the French part of UITP, International Association for Public Transport. And now we have a document that is ready to be published. Well, quite ready, because our communication service wants to have more French document, but we'll see that. So the publication of this note is planned during the European Mobility Week. It's next week on the website of our Ministry of Transport, even though we don't have a Minister of Transport yet, because the government had just resigned yesterday. I don't know if you noticed that.
I saw that.
But we're still working. We continue.
Okay.
We also aim at distributing our note at the National Public Transport Meeting in early November. It's a 3 days meeting where 8,000 public transport and sustainable mobility stakeholders come together for a congress and a trade show. This seems to be really the best place to speak about articulating walking and public transport. And apart from this publication, we are also planning a student work with the Department of Geography from the University of Dijon. So we work with Walk 21. We want to collect field data about the user experience of walking to public transport. So we will work with the Walkability app presented by a Walk 21 team, and we will have 3 days field data collection with the students. And the goal is to characterize the areas around a few public transports, and we selected them in cooperation with the local authority in charge of public space and transport. And the selections we have different status because some of them are planned to be renewed, and some of them are old, some of them are new, and we want to show with another workshop, maybe next year or after, we will be able to analyze the impact of improving the environment on those transport stops. For example, in increasing people going to this public transport or other effects we will see.
Yeah.
And finally, as you may know, in France, we will have local election next spring, and it's the moment to bring the promotion of walking in the candidates program. So we aim at working with TDIE, it's a think tank and association of local authorities involved in transport, and we want to organize. They organized last year a breakfast meeting on linking cycling and public transport, and we would like to organize one on linking walking and public transport in the end of the year or beginning of 26.
Thank you very much. It's great to see how this sort of regional agenda is then being adopted at a national level, and you start with a policy brief, and then you start collecting some data, and you're already thinking about how you disseminate the information and your findings. It's a really great to see this sort of program of activities and the potential impact that you can have at a national level on really supporting change happening at a local level. So thank you so much for sharing that. And Tumi, you're working in lots of places, of course, but we particularly wanted to hear what you were doing in the Philippines. But please share with us some of your work that you're doing at ICLE for active mobility at the moment.
Thank you, Jim, for the invitation, and it's a pleasure to be in this panel. And indeed, I represent an organization called ICLE, Local Governments for Sustainability. It's a network of 2,500 cities and regions across the world, and we're active in 100 countries. And we have various projects on active mobility, on space reallocation in Europe, but I will zoom in on sparking active mobility actions for climate-friendly cities. So this is a project, as Jim has shared, in the Philippines, and it involves 2 cities. It was written during COVID-19, so essentially it's about highlighting active mobility, walking and cycling as a priority areas for this specific country, as a response to what we could observe during the COVID-19 pandemic, essentially that walking and cycling are the most resilient mode of transport. And we wanted to leverage this opportunity. And in this project, we are leveraging on tactical urbanism interventions, so essentially street experiments, bringing it to the next level because we decided to have this experiment at least for 3 months. And essentially, it's about creating community engagement and also have them sanctioned. So meaning that the local governments and the national governments were engaged from the get-go. And there is also a component related to technology transfer, related to open data, and creating also and bridging some of the gaps that they are related to the data gaps that are existing, especially for walking, but also for cycling. And in all this, we had the privilege to really work since 2022 with these 2 cities, with all the political cycles and all the ups and downs from an administrative perspective. And in collaboration with the ICSE, which is a local partner, and 2 of the cities, which are Quezon City and Pasig City. I can also share a bit of some of what we have tried to do in this time. One of the pillars is related to baselining and essentially understanding the city context and engaging the stakeholders, and in particular building the community engagement and strengthening the governance structure of the city. The second pillar is related to co-designing along with the community, this tactical intervention, but also building the capacity in the process. The third pillar is related to this street experiment and tactical urbanism, and also the technology transfer. And one of the technology that we are using is via a Walk21, the walkability app that has already been mentioned. And then the number 4 is related to policy roadmaps, policy dialogues, and essentially disseminating this via peer-to-peer exchanges. So how do we leverage the experience in 2 cities in the Philippines to scale it up to many cities in the Philippines and hopefully in the region as well. And this project was also inspired by the Ecomobility Festival, which is a flagship program that ICLE has developed since 2012. Some of the outcomes that we have or lessons learned that I would like to share, I distill it into 3 points actually. One is about the data collection. I think many cities are still not collecting data on walking and cycling. And that's one element that we have tried to bridge as a gap. And one of them, and how do we leverage technology as well to be able to collect and complement what the cities are already doing in the traditional ways of traditional way of collecting data through observation and surveys. The second point, that I wanted to share is related to the governance, and this is perhaps the biggest item where a lot of effort has been placed. At the community level, we have engaged 140 volunteers in one of the small interventions, and the other ones we engaged 60 volunteers, so 200 volunteers, despite storms, rain, and also night shifts. So that happens a lot. We also broke the silos across the different, within the cities. Essentially, we have established working groups with 4+ departments, and both at the city level, and we have an advisory board at the national level that involves 5 different agencies from the Department of Health, local development, and of course transport, and so on and so forth. And last but not least, the tools at the national level. The support at the national level, essentially one of the biggest achievements that we have heard from, or we found out recently, is about the fact that the Department of Transport was part of our project as well in the advisory board. And in essence, they have adopted one of the tools that has been developed during the project in their recent Philippine active transport strategic master plan. And in essence, the walkability and cyclability assessment is one of the tools and projects that have been informing their current roadmap. Yeah. And hopefully this will help with the support with other partners and other projects to essentially enhance the engagement of the national government as well and to create a prioritization for walking and cycling.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that detail. It's a really textbook pathway, isn't it, about how to implement, but you're describing something from the city up, trying to influence at a national level. And we've heard different approaches from the national coming down, trying to have an influence on city and operators, and also at a regional level, and working out how to coalesce opinions and thoughts and different stakeholders to actually work together. Lots of experiences here, and all of you in many ways, of course, leading this work. And there'll be many people on this call in this symposium who are attracted to sort of think, if only we had people like that where I work, if only we had people in my region who were sort of putting this sort of thing together. Or what would you say to them would be the sorts of skills that would make a good active mobility champion, say? Is it about having that sort of data? Is it about governance? I mean, there you are, Suzanne, you said you don't even have a minister, but somehow you carry on. Suzanne, maybe I'll ask you first. Do you need ministers, or what is the secret to an active mobility champion or being a leader for this?
Okay, so as you said, in our political time in France, transition policies are no longer a priority. So we can not, and even more if we don't have a minister. So we can't have political commitment on active mobility. It's clearly the moment to take advantage of every opportunity to raise
Okay.
this subject. It's a matter of putting people in touch with each other. And whenever we take a point that could resonate with the expertise of another one. So I think it's more something like linking people. So concretely, we need to continue sharing experiences and inspirations. We need to share data and evidence to prove locally that investing in the active mobility really worth it. And if the local people believe in it, I think maybe we can have a national motivation for the subject.
Okay, thank you. And Wiebke, you're sitting in a ministry there in Austria. I think you've just changed your name again. You've changed your government again. How do you stay being a leader in this field? Is it difficult when all those other pieces change? Can you hold on to that agenda? What does it take?
Yeah, actually, you're right. And maybe we are not at the moment not in the right point of time to have the right sight on what is going to happen in the next years. But I think we have a good baseline, we have a good foundation for our activities. So I'm really sure it is very important, and I think this is what we learn in this call today also, is that it needs ambitious people. And it is necessary to bring them somehow together for exchange, for supporting each other, to encourage each other, even, if you have to sail against the wind sometimes, So sailing with the wind is very easy. And you need the good people to sail against the wind. And I think there is not only one solution. So, I mean, we have the people, but you need some mechanism to be successful. And I think in Austria, we are happy to have this strong funding schemes where we are able to give some financial support to projects in the field of walking and cycling infrastructure. We are funding bicycles and bicycle stands and support mobility management. And it's not only about, support those hard facts like infrastructure and things like this, but we also invest quite much in capacity building and building up competences, either on the professional level, for example, with our mission, the Austrian Climate Neutral City Mission, which is a public-public partnership where we spend some money to the cities to develop staff and competences and so on to deal with all those climate-friendly mobilities, but also other energy saving in different fields.
Yeah.
So I think this is a very important activity, but it's also about building up competences and capacities amongst the private people.
Yeah.
So here I think we invest quite a lot, in, for example, teaching school children in cycling. So since 2021, we trained 160,000 school students to be a bit more confident to cycle on their own and without their parents, and on normal roads in the traffic.
Yeah.
I think this is also very important, and then bringing people together. So we have quite a lot of ministerial working groups. We have multi-level working groups, with the regions and with the municipality level, just to understand what are the needs, and then to figure out what can we do from the national level to support the processes that need to be dealt on the local or the regional level.
Okay, thank you. And Chiara, does that sound familiar for you as well? Would you say it's about capacity? You need to sort of grow capacity as well as ambition? Or is the ambition there in Africa? Do people want these lives to be saved, or people to be more active? Do you see the sort of active mobility? Is it there on the agenda? How do you lead with this work?
I think the active mobility is a clear demand, and a clear need that is expressed by communities throughout the region. But I think that there is maybe more, we need to accelerate the work towards more influencing the agenda of decision makers, not only at the country level, but also at the regional level, because this can be really powerful. when regional dynamics can be activated, and we are working towards this as well. Because there are many cross-cutting issues that need to be also addressed in this region in regards of active mobility, walking and cycling, from regulation to standards to, I don't know, vehicles, safety. It touches really many different dimensions. So I think that advocacy is still coming from grassroots, but also structured in a more, structured way, as for example, the PAPAM has the ambition to do, to provide a roadmap, to provide standards, and to provide the rationale for decision makers. And then in the African region, we also need to go back not only to data, because we miss data to monitor all these dimensions: road safety, the quality of air, and the well-being of people, and also to build the capacity to do so by governments and by private sector as well. So it really resonates somehow with what we heard from Wiebke about the European region.
Yeah, no, thank you. And I know WHO produced a toolkit earlier this year about walking and cycling, which has been very helpful. I know that countries have been picking this up and have found it very helpful to see the sorts of things that we know have an impact, that are helpful to actually implement. And I'm sure that this guidance, this global guidance, will be helpful in all the regions. And as we heard from Laura, just now in Colombia, a really helpful sort of practical path that talked about governance and monitoring and evaluation and finance, of course. All of these things are necessary to actually have an impact, aren't they? And Toby, you had this Spark project. It came because of COVID. It's amazing how people are still talking about COVID, but you're still delivering on a project that started in COVID. Do we need COVID in order to make this happen? Is this when leadership happens, or has this sparked something inside ICLEI, or certainly in the countries you're working with, that has now creating a sort of a momentum of itself? What do you think? How do you sort of make this more mainstream? As you say, you want to scale it across all the cities. How does that work in an organization like ICLEI?
Thank you, Jim. Just to clarify, the project was written at the end of COVID,
Okay.
and the project cycle then started after COVID. But in general, I think there is always a need. It's easier to have a crisis to trigger change, but it's not necessary, I would say, or personally, I don't think it's necessary. But of course, as the other panelists has already shared, it's about being bold and having a clear vision and having a roadmap in essence. And also one point that perhaps complements the other points is related to the why. Maybe we have like working with cities, there are like political divisions and there are like many considerations and many priorities. But in essence, if we remember the why, and it's about the improving air quality, improving road safety, about the health, and also having less congested cities and livable cities, then when we have the why and we are able to communicate it in a clear manner, then essentially there is a way to create unity in diversity in essence. And that's and of course then it combines with all the other ingredients related to boldness and really having the right partnerships and having the opportunity to act. And in essence also having the consistency, resiliency, and persistency to drive the partnerships and sustain the change that and the transformation.
Right.
And within ICLEI, I think that many cities are still thinking about COVID and how this has impacted the cities, but then how do you build but it has evolved into building resilience, how to ramp up climate action despite the limitations within the budgets, and so how do we maximize the limited resources, and how do we combine different priorities and create more systemic change. That perhaps my main takeaway in a few minutes.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thanks for sharing that. I love the fact that you've mentioned persistency. I think that's a really key point that probably we're all we're all guilty of, or we're all capable of at least. Is just keeping on with that agenda and not letting go. But thank you for sharing those thoughts. And actually, you talked about the why. This is something, as we just wrap up this panel in the last few minutes, I'm going to ask all of you actually whether that why is shifting, or what is the why at the moment that gets the most resonance. You mentioned there to me about the need for a crisis for change, or not necessarily needing a crisis, but there's a series of crises, aren't there? Whether we're talking about climate, fatalities, air pollution, I mean, the list goes on. Which are the ones that really resonate for you in the places where you're working? Where are people paying most attention? Chiara, maybe I'll start with you. What is the main motivational area that you can link active mobility to when you're in that conversation?
Okay, at least for the World Health Organization, of course, is all the indicators related to health. So as I said about safety, so reducing the number of people who are victims of road crashes, or survive road crashes with life-changing injuries, and all the diseases related to moving or not moving in
Not moving enough.
environment.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. And would you say that's the same in the pan-European region? Is it about road safety and also about physical activity and non-communicable diseases, or where does climate fit in for you?
Yeah, so if I look at the pan-European region, I think travel safety is one of the most important topics there as well. So I think there are some combinations, and I think also in Austria, we have a strong focus on travel safety at the moment. So especially within our Austrian road safety strategy, we are now working on the field of safe and climate-friendly active mobility. And just, to balance between different types of active mobility and different modes of active mobility that are sharing a limited space in the Austrian cities. I think climate change is, our government is committed to that. So we have also, or we are still the target of the net zero emission transport until 2040.
Yeah.
So, but it is not the very core at the moment. So it's more about travel safety, and it is to make especially the rural communities stronger, to improve livable cities and life qualities, especially in the rural communities, because they are at a more or less shrinking level at the moment.
Yeah.
They are losing infrastructures and attractivities for the inhabitants. And from the pan-European region, here again, we have a strong focus on the health aspects. On the one hand side, the travel safety, and on the other hand side, the fight against sedentary lifestyles, just behaving more physical active, and to prevent discommunicable diseases by active mobility, or supported by active mobility.
Thank you. And Suzanne, same in France? What would you say?
In France, we used to have to insist on climate change mitigation, but I think French people seems to be fed up with guilt-inducing rhetoric. We have to change our messages, so we want to insist on individual benefits like health and purchasing power. So we really want to insist on health, and we try to make people think like my cardio is my bike or something like that. I save myself, because people know that they won't save the world. So if they want to save themselves, maybe it will save the world. Don't know.
Wow, that's a pretty good place to almost finish. But Tumi, do you have anything to add? You've already given us a list of reasons why. If you had to pick one, what do you think is the current flavour amongst all your cities that really gets people's attention for active mobility?
It's making city livable. That's the umbrella item. So anything that goes under that umbrella, essentially air pollution, road safety, traffic congestion, multimodality and connectivity. I think that those are the main items that usually I hear from different departments in the city.
Okay.
And the attractiveness from an economic standpoint is coming up, like it's getting more and more traction for the same reason why Susanna has shared, that people want to have their own individual benefits and see economic development in their own regions.
Wonderful. Thank you. I think we've run out of time, but thank you again to all of my panel today for sharing so interesting perspectives about what's happening in lots of different parts of the world, from different perspectives as well, at a national, regional, city level. To see so much momentum going on is really encouraging and inspiring. Thank you for sharing your stories, and we'll move on to the next section, which I think is, I'm handing over to, is it Frozen? Or is it back to Sheila?
Well, you can hand back to me if you like.
There we go. Thank you.
Yeah, just I have to share with colleagues that Jim and Bron, in fact, both from Walk 21, have just got off an aeroplane from Australia. You would not know that from that stellar moderating, and what a wonderful panel. That was incredibly interesting. So many useful inputs and things for us to listen to. And now we always like in our Path Symposium to give you a little update on what we've been up to in this last year since we last all came together. And I think this year we're doing that not through the medium of mime, but through the medium of a video, which is thoroughly exciting. So I think I have to ask Daniel to play the video now, please.
Daniel, I don't think we can hear the video.
Well, it's always the way, isn't it? The second you actually interact with proper technology, it all goes wrong. But I think that Daniel is fiddling with this now so that we'll be able to hear the video that we've put together for you. So here we go.
The Partnership for Active Travel and Health is a coalition calling on governments and cities to make a real commitment to walking and cycling as a key solution to the climate, health and equity challenges they face. These are the key pillars of our work. We're proud to have made many achievements these past few years, such as our very first COP letter, a report on walking and cycling in ITF countries, as well as many informational resources like regional fact sheets and case studies. Notably, shortly after the last symposium, PATH was a bold advocate at COP29. Our efforts and your support have managed to establish active travel on the transport decarbonisation agenda, appearing for the first time in a COP breakthrough target. PATH members also made the case for cycling and active mobility to government officials and other stakeholders at 9 different events. This year, PATH published 2 important reports and is now preparing for COP30. The first report drew attention to the global blind spot that ignores walking and/or cycling in mobility and transportation schemes. Its main concern was road safety. Nearly 22 million people are either injured or fatally injured each year while walking and cycling. The report discusses road safety measures globally, showing that only 20% of roads meet the basic safety standards for pedestrians. This makes one thing abundantly clear: the needs of people walking and cycling have to be given much more attention in transport, health, climate, and road safety plans if we are to meet the global target of halving road deaths and injuries by 2030. Our report calls on governments to adopt 6 key measures to eliminate this blind spot. Here are the measures we recommend. Safety was just the starting point. At the 2025 ITF Summit in Leipzig, PATH proudly unveiled its newly updated active travel policy template, calling on national governments to take bold, coordinated action to prioritize walking and cycling across transport, health, and climate policies. The how-to guide sets out a clear ambition to ensure everyone can walk and cycle safely, easily, and enjoyably. All the examples in the document are directly connected to tangible measures and clear outcomes in a logical framework that can be adapted to suit any local context. It is structured around 5 goals about activity, safety and security, accessibility, comfort and satisfaction. The matching objectives concretize and clarify these goals. To achieve these, we've recommended 20 actions that revolve around people, places and processes. And to measure success, we've also listed accompanying indicators. These all align with multiple Sustainable Development Goals. We have outlined 14 SDGs, proving how walking and cycling policies can mitigate climate change, support public transport, reduce pollution, save lives, benefit public health, and create vibrant, inclusive, and equitable societies. Today, the PATH Symposium brings us together once again, our third event since it launched in 2023. From tackling climate goals to creating more sustainable, healthier communities, the annual symposium has become a meaningful platform for dialogue by gathering inspiring leaders and passionate advocates like you. The symposium has also been setting the stage each year for another PATH initiative, our COP campaigns. This November, world leaders and climate advocates will meet in Brazil to measure just how close or far we are from reaching our global climate targets. We aim to build on our progress from previous campaigns with an even stronger voice and bigger ambitions. Stay tuned to our channels for updates. And visit PATH's website for all our resources.
Thank you very much for sharing that. And to all of you for tuning in and listening to it. There's a lot in there and a lot of detail in the work PATH has done. So please do go to the website, pathforwalkingandcycling.com, because the detail is all there and you'll have much more time to look through it. So now we're giving you a short break. We really hope that it is just a break and you will come back, but please do take the next 15 minutes to take a drink and stretch your legs. And we'll see you back here just before 1:30, so in 15 minutes from now. Thank you. Hello, everyone, and welcome back. I hope that you managed to make something of your break and stretch your legs and take a drink and reflect on the amazing things that we heard in our keynote and in our panel. Now, though, we're moving on to what in some ways is the most core element of what PATH does, because PATH exists to advocate for walking and cycling together in many ways. And one of our most important resources is the work that's already happening and is being led and undertaken by our supporter organisations, of which we have now many hundreds. So in each symposium, we gather bids and submissions, and we're forced to choose, which is never easy, a group of organisations to share their work. And so that's what we're turning to now. And we're very lucky, very honoured that Lauriane Crid, who has just this week almost taken over as CEO of the European Cycling Federation, another of our extremely important partners in PATH, and that she will moderate this for us. So Lauriane, over to you for your first experience of a PATH symposium in our community news session.
Thanks a lot, Sheila. It's a pleasure to be here, and it's a pleasure to be able to introduce so many great speakers. I mean, I'm sure we'll be very inspired by all the work that's been done. I will be a tough timekeeper, though. I have a strict schedule to adhere to, so I would, without further ado, hand over the word to Carly Gilbert-Patrick, presenting from UNEP perspective the Pan-African Action Plan for Active Mobility. Carly, over to you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Can I have access to share, or is someone sharing for me?
That would be Daniel from our end. Daniel, could you just kindly say what is what?
So at the moment it says I can't share because someone else is sharing.
Yeah,
Yes, I'm sharing as well.
Oh, great. You're sharing for me. Super. Thank you. So I've got 4 slides and 5 minutes to tell you what we've been doing for 3 years. So I'll try my best in developing the Pan-African Action Plan for Active Mobility, PAPAM, which you've heard a little bit about. So I guess first, as we always say, we need more data, which is true, of course. But at the same time, there's already quite a lot of data out there and evidence for the Africa continent that we can take serious and urgent action for the needs for pedestrians and cyclists in Africa. So we know from a recent baseline we did with the support of FEAR Foundation and Walk 21 and UN Habitat and UNEP that 1 billion people walk or cycle every day for an hour, and the urban trips are up to 70%. But at the same time, we know that overall in Africa, the estimate is around 2% of transport budgets are invested in walking and cycling for that 1 billion people. And as a result, we see 100,000 people walking or cycling are killed every year on the African continent, the highest rate in the world. Next slide, please. So UNEP and UN Habitat and World Health Organization have all been working globally and within Africa on active mobility guidance, capacity development, and technical assistance through various different lenses, because, you know, no matter how you look at it, from UNEP, it's an environmental perspective, but whether it's road safety, environment, air quality, congestion, physical activity, access, inclusion, the answer generally is still always to invest in pedestrians and cyclists and their needs. So with this group, and then also with the support of a lot of strategic partners, so African Union, Economic Commission for Africa, Walk 21, FEAR Foundation, and more recently African Development Bank and World Bank Group, we have been developing, launching, and now implementing the PAPAM. Next slide, please. So the Pan-African Action Plan for Active Mobility was launched at the World Urban Forum in Cairo at the end of last year. And it basically is founded on sort of three key action areas. The first one, of course, being safety and access and comfort, and then advocacy for people who walk and cycle. And the third action area is really embedding walking and cycling into policy and investment processes. And in fact, it's a very similar framework to what we see as the PATH active mobility template, but it's been consulted over 2 years with almost 2,000 stakeholders from within Africa, including governments and NGOs and academia. And it's really a one-stop shop for all African countries. They can pick this document up and say, okay, this is my starting point for what I need to do to prioritize pedestrians and cyclists, whether it's national context, city, peri-urban or rural. So we have 5 flagship countries that were alluded to earlier. So one from each sub-region, and you can see them here on the slide. And we're just about to kick off those 5 country projects. And basically we will, as the custodians, we will be supporting Ghana, Kenya, Cameroon, Malawi, and Morocco with technical assistance, capacity development, to develop national and city level policies and regulations guided by the PAPAM framework. So next slide, please. So what next? So we see this as a huge opportunity. For the first time for the whole continent, we have a document that we've all agreed sets out what needs to be done over the next 10 years on the continent. The African Union have taken PAPAM on board, and we're in the process of going through ratification. So we have already had a validation meeting with the representatives from the 55 member states, and we will be presenting the action plan in Addis face-to-face to the 55 transport and energy ministers before the end of this year, where we hope that PAPAM will be ratified and adopted as a strategic document by the African Union and the Economic Commission for Africa. We're also in the process of consulting individually with every Minister of Transport and Environment through UNEP, and then with Ministers of Health through WHO, and Urban Planning and Housing through UN Habitat, and consulting with the sub-regional community so that it's really embedded in the decision makers in the African continent. The 5 country projects will start. We want to add more countries and partners. We're going through translation. We're about to publish the French version. And we're also going through another round of peer review for the existing content of the action plan, because there's a lot of debate over the indicators and whether we need more action areas. So we want to it's a work in progress, and we wanted to get it out there and publish it, but we know that we need to keep improving it. We're about to kick off the capacity development program. We'll be taking about 10 officials from our 5 countries to the Walk 21 conference in Tirana as a study tour, hosted by the Walk 21 Foundation team. And we're also about to launch the delivery framework and governance model for PAPAM, which shows the international community, like World Bank, like African Development Bank, like NGOs, how they can take on PAPAM. So to give you an example, the African Development Bank have a municipal fund where cities and countries can apply for up to $500,000 to get infrastructure ready. So through PAPAM, we'll be supporting a group of 10 cities to apply to that fund. And so lots of ways for the international community to get involved. And then we'll also be launching the online knowledge hub and advocacy hub, which is really a one-stop shop where if you want to see any policy on walking and cycling in Africa, any tool, any business case, you'll be able to come to the PAPAM hub and find it there. So lots going on. My email address was on one of the slides, and you'll be getting the slides. So please contact me if you'd like to find out more. Thank you.
Thank you, Carly. That's impressive. 1 billion people walk or cycle every day for an hour or more. That means that's quite a lot of potential for a lot of healthy things if the infrastructure is right and if the investments are made in the right way. So that's very impressive. And indeed, we look forward to the hub and to the repository of information. Now, moving on to ITDP. So Dana Yanosha on the Cycling Max, looking into protected cycle lane networks. Dana, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Yeah, you can go to the next slide. So thank you so much for having me. I'm Dana Yanoka with ITDP. Going to be speaking a little bit about our Cycling Max tool. You can go to the next slide. So the foundation for the Cycling Max tool is really a report that ITDP and the World Bank co-created called The Path Less Traveled. And in this report, we're delving into some of the barriers that have been preventing large-scale investment in cycle lane networks, and how development banks and others could address those barriers to scale up these investments. And one of the things that we found was that there's no standard cost-benefit methodology for cycle infrastructure projects within the banks or beyond. And this has made it challenging to justify these large-scale investments when investors can't be sure the exact returns on their investments, even though generally, I think we would all agree that cycling has a number of societal and health and environmental benefits, but this is really an effort to start to quantify those. You can go to the next slide. So Cycling Max is a cost-benefit analysis tool to justify scaling up cycling ambition. This is a public, free-to-use tool. It's available at cyclingmax.worldbank.org, and have to acknowledge our great partnership with the World Bank to develop this. And there's also a report that goes along with the tool where we apply the tool to a number of planned cycle infrastructure networks in Global South cities. So the Cycling Max tool, this is a sketch model. This is intended to be used early on in the planning process for cycle infrastructure networks, and particularly protected cycle infrastructure networks. This isn't necessarily for, one-off bike lane corridors. This is really to evaluate the large-scale impacts of protected networks of cycle infrastructure so that we can really justify scaling up investment in these types of networks. So this was originally targeted for development bank staff as users, but we really see an opportunity for national and local government officials and other practitioners and advocates to use this tool to really make the case, make the economic case for these larger scale cycle infrastructure projects. And one of the things that's really important to note about this tool is that because this is a standardized methodology that generates economic metrics that are used across other types of projects, it allows for comparison across not only other cycle lane projects, but you can compare to investments in other transport projects like Metro and BRT, and really get a sense for, kind of dollar for dollar, the types of benefits that these projects can generate. You can go to the next slide. So I wanted to show what some of these results look like for one of the cities that we highlight in the report, which is Addis Ababa. So we have two economic indicators, which are EIRR and NPV. So IRR is the internal rate of return. This is the rate at which your investment is growing. And development banks tend to look for IRRs between 12 and 20% in order to move a project forward to financing. So anything higher than that is indicating a really strong economically viable project. And then net present value is the present value of your cash flows over a certain evaluation period, and you're looking for a positive net present value to indicate an economically viable project. So you'll see here really high IRR and positive net present value, which really shows the strong investment case for Addis's cycle lane network. And then it also generates 4 other outputs. So you can see the reduced crashes and serious, fatal and serious crashes per year, reduced mortalities as a result of physical activity per year, reduced carbon emissions per year, and travel time saved per year. And you can go to the next slide. Just to show kind of in total all of the cities that we applied the tool to, all of the cycle network plans for these cities. And across all of these, really strong outputs here in terms of making the economic case, and hope that this provides, a little more on the quantitative side to show that investments in cycling are really yielding major returns and to further justify these types of investments.
Oh, thanks, Dana. That's super impressive. I mean, these figures out there, 91.5% ERR. That would be really great to look a bit more into the the methodology, but very interesting results. I'll definitely look into it. I'm sure other people are equally inspired. So thanks a lot for that. I will move now to our next speaker, Sofia Pires Bento, Institute for Mobility and Transport, Secretary of State for Mobility in Portugal, looking into collaborative network for active mobility. Sofia, the word is yours, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Lorian. Good afternoon, everyone. So my name is Sofia, and I'm with a great pleasure here with you, sharing our experience in Portugal about strengthening local capacity through the collaborative network for active mobility. Next slide, please. Well, I made some animation. Daniel, you can go ahead. It's better. So we established this collaborative network because it's one of the measures that we have in our walking strategy. Well, let me tell you, in Portugal, we have the cycling strategy since 2019 and the walking strategy since 2023. And these two strategies have identified 72 different measures to be implemented until 2030. And one of the measures, as I told you, is the building of this collaborative network. We launched it in March 2024, and we made the awareness meeting. The first meeting of the network was held in July, and by that time we had already 160 members, and in the end of the year we already had 201 members, and currently today we have 246 members. As you can see in orange, there are the municipalities that are in our network. It's almost every municipality in Portugal, so today we have 228 municipalities, 17 intermunicipal communities that you can see with in green. And we also have a municipal association that asked us for being the network also. And we have the transport, the Metropolitan Transport Authority of Lisbon that represents the metropolitan area. So this is a free service that we provide. It's a national network, and the idea or the purpose of this network is to connect municipalities with us at the national level, at the national government, because we established the national policy, but we need municipalities to implement it, because active mobility is something more local or to be implemented in the more local proximity to citizens. So this is the idea, is to have municipalities on board. So I think our results are remarkable. We gained all these members, and the process was quite simple. We started by sending an email to all the municipalities saying, please say if you have a person that takes care of walking or cycling, or if you have one for cycling and another for walking, please tell us who that person is. Let's build up this network. And our first action was to develop an online survey, and we wanted to understand how they are organized in terms of active mobility. How is their governance? And we asked, what do you need from our side, besides money, of course? And they asked for training, because almost the technicians that work in the Portuguese municipalities, they were trained in the car-centric approach. And nowadays, everybody is recognizing that they need to shift to a more human approach. And so they asked us for training. And we started to do that. Next slide, please. So since February this year, we set up a webinar series. Until the moment, we held 5 sessions with more than 600 attendees. And after each session, we ask the participants to rate us. And the rating has been 4.61 in a scale of 5. So I think we are doing a great job. So the first webinar, it was held in February. It was about designing active mobility. The second one in March, it was with colleagues from Brazil, and it was about active school mobility. Then in April, we made another webinar regarding accessibility and mobility for all, so inclusion. In May, aligned with the campaign of the UNEC, we did a webinar for safe walking and safe cycling. And the last webinar that we held before the summer break, it was about solutions and tools for cycling on the World Bicycle Day. And we stopped for the summer break because municipalities almost stopped working here in Portugal, and we will return soon to the series of webinars. Next slide, please. One of the other actions that we are doing through this collaborative network is to know better the municipalities and their needs. So as I told you, we started with the survey on municipal governance, on active mobility. We received 114 valid responses by the end of March, and our key findings were these three bullet points that we have here: the need for training. That's the reason why we are doing the webinars. We discovered that the public participation is not a thing yet, we hope. And we also learned that for municipalities in Portugal, the most important are the laws, the regulation, not the best practices that we can share or try to inspire municipalities. The second study that we conducted, it was again an online survey through the network. We received 112 valid responses also in March. And here we discovered that there's a growing interest in implementing the bike sharing systems nationwide. And we discovered that who already has a bike sharing system, it's a small system, more or less under 50 bikes. And the main challenges, of course, as the dimension of the systems is so low, it is the maintenance costs and the low demand levels. And this is very important for us because it helps us to understand better the needs of the municipalities, and it's better for us to understand, to have data. As Carly said, data is always needed. And with this information, we can develop better public policies and help municipalities for their really needs, not what we think they need, what they really need. So I think the final message is that working in collaboration, it's good. And I think collaboration is not just an option, it is the path for transformation. And that's our objective, is to become a national Portugal, to become more active, more walkable, and more cycling. And that is our message. And thank you for your thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Sophia. That's very impressive to have so many municipalities involved and to start the trainings. And I'm sure there's a lot of valuable insights into your training sessions. And I love the fact that you mentioned the path, being in a path conference. So the path leads us now to Brazil with Juliana de Castro looking into the cyclist profile. Juliana, the floor is yours.
Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, we can. We can hear you very clearly.
On behalf of the Transporte Ativo, PATH partner and NGO with 20 years of history in Brazil, I'm very delighted to be here. Thank you. Our mission has always been to encourage more people to cycling more often. Next slide, please. As a PATH excellent research shows, many national climate commitments, their NECs, significantly undervalue walking and cycling. The American region, including Brazil, reflected this reality. Although active travel is mentioned in our national urban mobility policy, there is a critical lack of a specific data-driven action, investments, and evaluation, particularly in regard to our NDC. So this slide shows the initiative of the Brazilian cyclist profile is a pioneer civil society led census on cycling mobility. In 2014, last year, we mobilized 2050 research across 18 cities, conducting almost 12,000 interviews. This initiative provides essential low-cost data that fills a critical gap in Brazil, unveiling barriers and motivation for cycling adoption. We gathering 8 civil society organizations, 6 universities, and 4 city halls. Next slide, please. The data gap is the single biggest barrier to progress. To address this, we developing the Brazilian cyclist profile, large-scale survey in the national wide scope to generate the evidence needed to turn climate ambition and the real action in our streets. Our model is built on citizen science and an open data. And, last edition, across 18 cities, we cover 5 of Brazilian micro regions. You can see some figures and facts, main motivation using for bicycle as a transport mode. How long have you been using the bicycle as a transport mode, and what you make to use your bicycle more often? So by working together, we are not just collecting data, we are building local capacity and creating a shared understanding of the challenging and opportunity to cycle mobility across our diversity country. So how does this data drive change? It provides the missing evidence base. Our research have already informed impactful public policies like the cycling master plan for Rio de Janeiro, but the potential is even greater. That active travel policy templates provide a clear roadmap. Governments outline a vision, goals, and actions. But to define meaningful actions and secure finance, government needs a baseline. They need to understand the reality on the ground. Our data provides a spatial baseline. For example, when our research showed that 55% of cyclists say better infrastructure is demand thing, they would make them ride more. It's more than a statistic, it's the powerful public mandate. It gives the policymakers the justification they need to prioritize a fully safe cycling network, as my peer colleagues also show tools and possibilities. So this is how we help to translate the actions and objective impact templates into the concrete fundable projects in Brazilian national determined contribution. As Brazil prepares to host COP30, our work demonstrates a scalable, low-cost model to close the data gap. We are providing the tool to help build a strong, more impactful NDC for active mobility. I know that we have a short time, so my presentation is short, and I'm open to any question that you already have or thinking about it.
Thanks a lot,
Thank you.
Juliana. Thank you. Thank you for also sticking to the time with a lot of data you gathered. It's not that easy. But indeed, I write down infrastructure being the biggest barrier to taking up cycling, which I believe a lot of people can actually relate to, and health and convenience being the main drivers of cycling in the sample you gathered. So thanks a lot for that. I'm sure there will be other questions. And now indeed, I move on to Ivan Vizquez Sorosano from yours. Ivan, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you very much. Can you hear me? Perfect. Okay, well, let's start. Thank you very much for this opportunity. My name is Ivan Viquez. I'm Senior Project Manager at Yours. Yours is an international organization that works for youth and with youth to promote and demand road safety and sustainable mobility. One of the main programs that we have at Yours is the Global Youth Coalition for Road Safety. This is the largest youth-led safety mobility movement right now in the world, so we're really proud of that, with more than 3,000 members. It means 3,000 young people from all over the world they have the chance, our members, they have the chance to apply for seed grants every year. We have a call for applications that we call this program Local Actions. And through Local Actions, we support grassroots youth-led projects that they tackle specific road safety and sustainable mobility issues. Since 2021, we have founded and supported 59 projects. 42 of them are related to sustainable and active mobility. Those projects, they have been implemented in 24 countries, in 36 cities and regions. We have invested more than 300 Ks just in seed investment. It's difficult to calculate what is the total amount mobilized, but we estimate that including crowdfunding, long-term program investment, and also our members' participation, we are talking about between 3 and 4 million euros that is being mobilized through this program. We have impacted more than 2 million people, and recently in 2025, we selected 15 new projects. So what I'm gonna do today is that through 3 different initiatives that they were implemented, sorry, next slide, please, that they were implemented by young people in their countries. I just want to exemplify how local actions work and what we do on the ground, right? So we founded and we supported technically these 3 different projects from 3 different countries, different contexts. The first one I want to address is claiming space for walking and cycling. It was developed in Tajikistan, in Dushanbe specifically. Dilshot, one of our members, identified one combination that was not a good combination: poor road safety and a car-centric environment. So basically, he identified this as the main issues that discourage people to walk and cycling in the city. So one of the first things he did is he developed a peer-to-peer training to promote and to overcome the difficulties they were facing in the city. They promote mass cycling events to promote and encourage young people, especially to cycle in the city. He developed bike tours, including government officials, including not only local, but also international entities, so they can see in firsthand what are the difficulties people face when they ride a bike in the city. They launch a pledge for alternative transport, and in a nutshell, at the very end, they got infrastructure change, and also they launched different researches that is been that they are being published, and like providing like real data about what is happening on the ground. A really important thing is that we found this small project initially back in 2020 in 2022, but during the years they got recognition, they got support from other entities such as EAST. And it become into a permanent program right now in Tajikistan. So is where we see the magic of the seed funding, right? Another project that I want to address is Pedestrian First. As Laura mentioned in the very first session, there is a plan in Bogota. There is a plan not only in Bogota, in Colombia, and there is progress on sustainable mobility. Marifeli, one of our members, she identified and she recognized that there is advance on that, but also there was a huge impact on pedestrians, fatalities, and also there was a lack of participation for specific groups, such as children, youth, people with disabilities, women, and elderly. So they designed a program to engage those groups. Basically, they did different campaigns. They also implemented artistic and street interventions. They launched and co-created a citizen manifesto. They collected 10 petitions. 9 of them were included in the Bogota's 2023 strategic plan. So here is where we see the capacity of the youth to influence positively in problems that affect them directly. That is important thing, that we cannot make these things real, or they cannot do it if they don't work in collaboration with the specific authorities, in this case with the Secretariat of Mobility, where like they got the support to move forward and implement this kind of initiative. Finally, I want to talk about another project, an interesting project that happened in Mérida, Yucatan, in Mexico. It's a similar situation that we can identify in Tajikistan, you know, like where the road safety is not encouraging people to ride a bike or to walk. And here, Paola, she identifies one specific issue, that is women. There was a gender gap. Only 5% of women were cycling, right? The community of cyclists, only 5% represent women. So she designed a program, a project that was specifically focused on vulnerable groups, including women, youth, LGBTQ plus community, and people with disability. They identify through a mapping exercise together with the community different zones and needs, because the big issue in Merida is the insecurity. Through that data that they collected, fresh data from the youth perspective, they proposed tactical initiative, and they develop a full plan to appropriate for space appropriation through artistic and urban interventions. So basically, I just want, I talk about like 59 projects. I just brought here 3 examples of 3 initiatives implemented by youth. The important thing here is this is the youth taking action, the youth bringing their problems to the decision-making table and asking, demanding, and also achieving change. So next slide, and with this I'm gonna get to the end. If there is any young people in the room, we invite them to join the Global Youth Coalition for Road Safety next year. We're gonna have another call for applications for local actions, and you can be one of those change makers. Like as Dilshot, Marifeli, or Paola did it in their countries, you can also do it. Also, if you are interested in learning a youth perspective of that intersection between road safety and mobility and climate action, there is another QR code, so you can visit our policy papers there. So thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Ivan, for lots of good examples and lots of energy. I like the approach, very practical. You start from the problem and you move up all the way to federating people around the goal. That is very exciting indeed. Thank you for that. I mean, I'm too old to join your network, so definitely I'm not the target. Then we move on to Ethan Gingerish, Engineer in Action, where we're looking into volunteer advancing active travel and health equity. Ethan, the floor is yours.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm excited to be here. Give me 1 second while I grab a screenshot of this, because my team is also very excited for Engineers in Action to be represented. And they made me promise, get a screenshot so we can share it on social media and talk about how we're involved in PATH. So I got the screenshot.
Got it? Okay,
perfect. Thanks for your patience.
Thanks a lot.
So yeah, over the years, we've heard all kinds of really inspiring presentations from those who have participated in the PATH symposiums. We've heard a bunch here today, including several of the presentations that have touched on what I'm going to talk about, which is specifically the infrastructure that we need for the PATH initiatives. So thanks, Carly. Thanks, Juliana, for touching on that in your presentations, as well as others. But yeah, we've heard a bunch today, a bunch of really inspiring presentations. And in the past as well, some that come to mind for me, we've heard about accelerating access to healthcare through bicycles, redesigning city streets to prioritize walking and cycling, making cycling more accessible to disadvantaged communities, using big data to improve pedestrian and cyclist safety, and honestly, way too many to fit in my little 5-minute presentation. But what's really important is that each of these initiatives is moving us closer to PATH's vision of the healthier, more climate-friendly, and more equitable world. But there's this first and essential step that underpins all of these initiatives, right? And that's that people have to have the physical infrastructure that allows them to walk and cycle in the first place. Because it's difficult or even sometimes impossible to reap the benefits of walking and cycling if your path is literally blocked by an impassable river. So an impassable river, like you can see in the first slide here. And this isn't even a rare scenario. It's a daily reality for nearly 1 billion people around the world, mostly in lower income countries. And yes, a billion with a B, literally 1 billion people. You can go to the next slide. So this is where Engineers in Action comes in. All right, the GIFs are working. I was worried that they weren't going to work. I've never done that before, so this is maybe not the best time to test it, but it's kind of cool to have these moving images to give a little bit more illustration of what we're doing. But yeah, so this is where Engineers in Action comes in, right? Our mission is simple but powerful. We build pedestrian bridges across rivers that would otherwise cut communities off from schools, healthcare, markets, and one another. And in so doing, we ensure that walking and cycling are safe options year-round, regardless of how full these rivers are. So we take inspiration from our other peer bridge building organizations, sustainable and replicable bridge designs from organizations like Helvetas, partnerships with local communities and governments like Bridges to Prosperity, geographic specialization like Bridging the Gap Africa. And to all of that, we add something distinctive, which is our powerful training model. Getting a little feedback from somebody.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of background noise, but I can't really identify where it comes from.
Okay, well, I'll just put out a public service announcement. If your mic is on and you can mute it, that'd be great. Thanks.
Yeah.
So anyway, the powerful training model. We don't just train the local community members and the governments who will build and maintain these bridges, although we do that. We also mobilize hundreds of students and professionals from around the world. So we're talking engineers, architects, construction practitioners, and others who bring not only their technical skills, but also their passion for service. And then together with our local partners, they build this life-changing infrastructure while also becoming lifelong advocates for sustainable development. So when we say that we build bridges, we actually mean it in two ways. The first is, yes, we construct physical pedestrian bridges, which are low carbon, community driven, and deeply human. But the second thing is that we also build human bridges. We have this ever expanding network of global change makers who leave our projects inspired to continue working on climate and health and equity solutions across all kinds of sectors, often in partnership with organizations like those of us who are represented here at the PATH Symposium. And that brings us to our results, to our impact. So we can go to the next slide. And the result is exponential, really, because each bridge that we build, it opens opportunities for safe walking and cycling for thousands of rural residents, especially children and elders and caregivers. But also each volunteer who joins us then carries their experience forward. And that means that instead of fighting to get a bigger slice of the philanthropic pie, per se, we're actually growing the whole pie because we're mobilizing more people and more resources to tackle these problems that we're all so passionate about. Because at Engineers in Action, we believe that essential infrastructure for walking and cycling should be available for everyone, everywhere. So that's why we're honored to participate and stand alongside PATH and the partners, including all of you here today, to contribute to this global effort. So if you or your colleagues or students or anybody else you know is interested in helping to build both literal bridges and metaphorical bridges, we'd love to connect because together we believe that we can ensure that there's a path forward to every community, no matter how remote, having safe access to walk, safe access to cycle, and safe access to thrive. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ethan. Plus, you convinced me once again. I had this old math teacher who told me engineers build bridges. So now I'm confirmed engineers build bridges, metaphorical one and real ones too. So
yep,
that
exactly.
that is exactly what an engineer was supposed to do when I was just taking my math lessons, although it can be way more varied than that. Thank you so much. Apologies from the background noise. We apparently muted everyone, so not entirely sure where it comes from. But we'll move on to Chandani Shakia from the Nepal Civil Cycle Society, looking into making a pedestrian and cycle friendly area in the Durbar Square. Chandani, the word over to you now.
Hi, thank you for the opportunity. Can you move to the slide? Hi, I'm Chandni Shakya, an urban designer and architect from Nepal. And today I will be talking about our project, making Patan Durbar Square a pedestrian and cycle-friendly area, representing Nepal Cycle Society. We are a group of urban planners, designers, cycling. And talking about this area, Patan Darbar Square is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, also known as Mangal Bazaar, and is a historical, cultural and business center in Lalitpur. Due to the area's narrow traditional streets and high pedestrian activity, it is particularly suited for non-motorized transport intervention. This historic hub, while vibrant, faces issues like through a participatory and context-sensitive approach. The project introduces design and mobility changes that reduce motorized traffic, improve safety for pedestrians and cyclists, and enhance the public realm. Can we move to the next slide? The first phase of implementation is targeted to the walking radius of 200 meters from the center of the square. This project is also a part of the larger cycle lane network plan. A major part of implementation process is the household and regularly use the space, along with focus group discussions and workshops with the locals. The houses in these areas are low rises, usually 3 to 4 floors with small footprints of 1 or 2 rooms in streets that are planned to be vehicle free as per our initial study. Out of these, we have completed a survey of 251 households. Majority of the respondents were the house owners and 37% were renters with shops. This household survey documented the total number of vehicles per house, their floor use, how they are parking their vehicles currently, and available parking spaces. We also asked about alternatives to the parking space, and this survey was conducted also to understand the perception of people on walkable and bikeable streets. One of the major problems that we faced during data collection was that people did not want to participate in the survey, especially in the business area. This is due to their concern about the economic impact that this would have on their businesses, as they think that making it vehicle-free would reduce the accessibility for the customers. Meanwhile, in a study done prior to this project to implement bicycle sharing project, showed that majority of people would not stop going to this area simply because vehicles were not allowed to enter. Talking about the results, the majority use of ground floors in the area was some kind of business, which includes handicraft shops selling traditional items, and food and beverages. While talking about difficulties that they face while moving in this area, 140 of the respondents said it to be traffic jams. 33% of the respondents fully supported this initiative, while 41% said that they can support it as long as the residents and businesses have vehicle access. Taking this into consideration, we have come up with a plan for time-restricted access of vehicles while allowing residents to move in and out of the area. Next slide, please. We've planned to test the vehicle-free initiative in these 9 streets in 3 phases on Wednesdays and Saturdays for the first 6 months, and gradually move towards implementing it on all days of the week, with time restrictions of 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. or 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. depending on the area. This is a test phase and is subject to change according to the response from the locals and the local stakeholders and impact of traffic on other roads. We have also made a mobility flow map with one-way and two-way traffic for both 4 and 2-wheelers with alternative routes they can take while vehicles are not allowed in this 200-meter radius. We have also identified parking locations where people can park and walk towards the historic center. All of these are crucial to ensure the accessibility in this area, as well as to gain support from the local community and the businesses. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Can we move on to the next slide? Okay. So what happens when streets are dedicated to people walking and cycling? We, of course, have spaces for people-oriented activities. We made an open call to display people's work in the streets of Patan, be it their arts and crafts, local items, and even researches. These requests will be handled directly by the local stakeholders, ensuring the sustainability of the project. We have been conducting trials on these streets. An example of this can be seen on the street of Swotha to Kwalku, we held storytelling sessions about the area from the locals, where people of all ages participated. It also included elements of play for children, where they were playing and drawing on the streets, as well as people that came to exhibit their art. This gathered positive response from the public. And with this, we aim to keep conducting these trials so that the locals get familiar to the concept and take accountability for their streets with the support of Lalitpur Metropolitan City. By the end of this phase, we will provide a model for sustainable mobility, keeping walking and cycling at its core, reallocating road space to public activities, developing cycling infrastructure, and creating pedestrian zones that highlights the benefits like improved air quality, economic vitality, and cultural tourism. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chandani. That's extremely inspiring on how you engage with people before rolling it out. I really like the approach and the fact that you go back to people and you make sure they see what's in for them. Thanks a lot for the presentation. Last but definitely not least, Clara Clark, Cycling Without Age from Ireland, cycling for all ages and ability. Clara, the floor is yours.
Thank you, and thank you for the opportunity to talk to everyone today. So, Cycling Without Age allows people of all ages and abilities to get out and about. No one chooses to get old, to become disabled, mobility impaired, or to lose their independence. And when that happens, they shouldn't lose access to their community. And Cycling Without Age provides that opportunity to take people out and about. It's a free, award-winning, sustainable initiative. It started in Copenhagen in 2012. The founder, Ole Kassow, had an idea and he tried it out. And it was to pop somebody who was from a nursing home into a trishaw and take them for a free spin around the town. And it worked. And he thought it was a great idea. And I read about it in 2016 and I asked, were you in Ireland? And he said, no. So we talked, and I'll take you on that story. It's a movement. Literally, it's a movement, Cycling Without Age. It's philosophically a movement. Emotionally, it's a huge movement. It gives people the opportunity to get out and about when they cannot do it for themselves. It's now in 41 countries. It's got 3,500 chapters. There are over 6,000 trishaws. That's on a worldwide, and those figures can be seen on cyclingwithoutage.org. In Ireland, I brought it in 2017 with one trishaw. There are now 67 trishaws all around Ireland. And it's growing all the time. Cyclingwithoutage.ie is the website here in Ireland. And the whole point of it is to get people out and about and experience life back in their community. Now, we started in nursing homes, and initially the trishaws were going into nursing homes, but when COVID hit, we couldn't go into the nursing homes and they couldn't come out. So we had to rethink the whole thing. And then the local authorities came on board and started to buy and sponsor trishaws. And they started to, that gave us the opportunity to take people who weren't in a nursing home out for a spin. And I do all the pilot training, and the pilots are all volunteers, and they're amazing. They love doing this. People queue up to become pilots on our trishaws. And it's not necessarily young people being pilots and passengers being older. We have pilots older than our passengers. We take out young people with Down syndrome, with autism. We take out a lot of kids with intellectual difficulties. I don't know if you're familiar with St. John of God services. We take a lot of young people who are intellectually challenged, quite often verbally challenged, but they get the opportunity to go out on a trishaw. This is just one example of a local community. Out of Cycling Without Age was born a thing called the Bike Hub, the bikehub.ie, where they store the local authority bikes and they maintain them, and we can take out people in the community. So we do include people of all ages and abilities, and it's free. It's free to the passengers. The pilots do it voluntarily. I'm a volunteer. Nobody pays, nobody gets paid, but it's magical. This is an example of the promoting a livable street near where I live. I live in South Dublin, and the man with where the big sign is Bike Week, he's quite a young man, but he's got motor neuron disease. He can't move. The lady on the trike over slightly to the left side, she's got a neurological condition similar to Parkinson's, but she discovered she couldn't ride a trike. So what we're doing is we're giving visibility and activity back to people who otherwise wouldn't be seen. And it's a growing movement, and we want to grow it. And we want to encourage people to realize they can become pilots, they can get trishaws themselves, and that we get out and about. But cycling infrastructure, and lots of you have mentioned that, is the key thing. I spend more of my time now lobbying government and local authorities for proper, safe cycling infrastructure, getting rid of kissing gates and barriers, access to parks, access to greenways, because we need the trishaws long and wide and heavy and awkward to manage, and it needs off-road space. So we get out and about with the help, but we need to get the local authorities and government on board to understand that slow cycling is important, that safe cycling is important, and cycling infrastructure has to be designed. I work on the principle that if you designed cycling infrastructure in a country for trishaws, everything else will be able to move. Cargo bikes, wheelchairs, double buggies, anything with wheels, frankly, will be able to move safely and with ease of access if you design all your cycling infrastructure for a trishaw. And given that, as I say, we're in over 40 countries now, I think let people look up and see there's a map of the world on cycling.org. There's a map of Ireland on cyclingwithoutage.ie, and each little blue icon tells you exactly where your local trishaw is. So each of you after this call can actually look up and see, where is my local Cycling Without Age trishaw? And see, maybe you can get involved. Could you become a pilot? Could you sponsor a bike? Could you find out where the nearest one is to your nearest care home? So it's a huge fund of goodwill, and all we're selling is fun and freedom. We have nothing else to sell. As I say, I'm a volunteer, we're all volunteers, and all we want to do is give people fun and freedom. And a lot of them get free ice cream on their rides. I mean, what's not to like? A trishaw ride and a free ice cream. So thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, Clara. Selling fun and freedom and keeping communities alive. That sounds like a thrilling experience. I'd love to be part of it too. Thanks so much. That concludes our session with all the inspiring and the most inspiring contribution to Path. I know there's a lot around there as well. With that, I would hand over to Sheila for the closing remarks. But thanks a lot from my side. I got hugely inspired by all the different presentations. It was really great. And thanks a lot for sticking to the time that Frozo imposed. I know it can be frustrating, but it allows us to finish almost on time. Sheila, over to you. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, Lauriane. And wow, again, what a set of contributions. Extraordinary, all corners of the planet, all ages, all policy perspectives, so many different aspects of walking and cycling. And I really want to sort of make that point that as Path, we're interested in both of those modes. And even I didn't realize that that was something that wasn't already being well covered. And we're delighted that Path is filling the gap in doing that. So yes, thank you to everyone who has tuned in. Thank you, of course, to all of our speakers, to our moderators, and to our team at ECF, at European Cycling Federation, who pulled this together and did all of the organisation, who many of you will have been dealing with and speaking to. There's tons here to be positive about. Jim made the point that half the world is covered by a policy framework at this point on these modes. We heard 1 billion people employ them every single day in their normal movements. We heard that it's all about people, a thought that to which I've long subscribed, and about persistence. And I think if it's also about passion, then we've got plenty of that in the amazing people who've joined us today, both to listen in and also to present. So really great to hear from you all, and really great to see you all on the call. If you don't already support Path, then please do get in touch and join us. I mentioned the website earlier, and you can find our materials there, pathforwalkingandcycling.com, and follow us us, join us in this mission to promote these healthful, beneficial modes and to protect and to promote them globally. So thanks again and goodbye. We're pretty much on time, and that's pretty amazing in a 2.5-hour call. Just shows that not only do the walkers and the cyclists know what they're talking about, but they stick to a timetable, and that's not insignificant. So thanks for your time and cheerio.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great afternoon.